I just can't convince myself to look. Why can't I be strong in the place where you read your books? I just can't rely on happenstance. Didn't say goodbye before you died, I should have took that chance. But you'll never leave me, no, my heart is bleeding, and I know this feeling's not fleeting. Your hugs were the best thing, just wrapped up in your strength. I'd give up to be there right now. I just want you back, we all want that. I just wish that you hadn't forgotten. I hate this disease, I hate human beings. We fall apart before we get broken. I just can't believe you're not here with me. We should be out back sitting underneath that willow tree. You could talk and I'd be listening. I didn't take the time to read your mind before you forgot me. Okay. But you'll never leave me, no, my heart is bleeding, and I know this feeling's not fleeting. Your hugs were the best thing, just wrapped up in your strength. I'd give up to be there right now. I just want you back, we all want that. I just wish that you hadn't forgotten. I hate this disease, I hate human beings. We fall apart before we get broken. Lock myself in my room to listen to voices recorded. Don't walk outside to avoid being avoided. This feeling that comes with not having a purpose. If I find something soon, maybe I won't feel so worthless. I've always felt this rhythm, but I thought it'd be pointless. Playing music that's for rich folks, not a prophet of poignance. Pointless is a feeling that comes over me often. Though I keep going for a fear of not affording my own coffin. I know I sound sad, but I've got to be honest. It's soothing to me and it helps with my progress. Writing these songs helps me change, then I have to. Not even for me, but everyone that I matter to. I've got this feeling life won't always be like this. My dad said to me, it's your calling, your purpose. Walking through this life like a man with no shadow. Always by myself, just trying to find my way. I've got no idea of how to get this thing started. Looking for a way out, never.
Welcome everybody. How are you all doing tonight? It is a him and haw kind of night. It is the SchuBros coming to you on a Monday. I hope everybody had a happy July 4th. Kyle, did you have a happy July 4th?
Had a good 4th of July, man. Even with you screwing up and scheduling an interview during the middle of the day.
It was a good interview.
Still had a good, yeah, it was a great interview. Would have been preferred to have had it, yesterday or today.
It's God's
or
day of rest,
this
man. We can't do anything on Sunday.
This way of Thursday. It was the nation's day of rest on Saturday, man.
What's more important,
But
the Sabbath?
But we had a
or
good
the 4th?
time. We went out to Amanda and Al's house and shot off good amount of fireworks. We chipped in together as a crew and bought almost $1,000 worth of fireworks. It lasted a good 10-15 minutes, and it was pretty fun to watch people driving down their road slow down to be able to watch our fireworks with us. It was kind of funny.
Well, that's good. So we did no fireworks. We did sprinklers or sparklers for the kids. That's about it. I mean, it was.
You mean angry incense?
Yeah, it was about as weak of a 4th of July as you can get. And I went, so we have one of the real big fireworks stores here, like one of the warehouse stores that you can go to. And I mean, they're great, except when you can't really do any of the stuff that's there. And you're just kind of walking through going, I can't buy any of this. Like,
well, why couldn't you buy it?
Because I live inside the city limits, which means that kind of stuff, the big stuff, is illegal. So
you didn't take a page out of LA's handbook and just say middle fingers to the sky and let it fly?
I'll tell you why. Because I live in a very quiet neighborhood. My neighbors are very respectful. They give us our space. They give us our peace. I didn't feel like it would be very nice to just say middle finger to all my neighbors, who are all elderly, and shoot off a bunch of really loud fireworks. Now, I did go around the neighborhood because we live in a cul-de-sac, so we have a big circle drive out in front of our house. I could have done sparklers or I could have done fountains and stuff like that. It would have probably been perfectly fine. I did go around and ask a few of them if, hey, we all sit on our porches, I'll light everything, we'll have a little fun, but more than one said no, that they would prefer to do nothing. So they are older. They do want to go to bed earlier. I tried, but I felt like being the new guy in the neighborhood, it was better to be respectful of the people around me instead of pissing them off and getting the cops called on me.
That makes sense, I guess. We have
so
our
speaking
neighborhood.
Of being respectful, hit the subscribe button, guys. Like the video. Hey, we got a shill for it, man.
No, I was going to say be respectful, but let's cut off our brother.
I don't know. We're not caring about respectful to you.
We live in a neighborhood that's newer, so it's not completed yet. So in the back portion of it is blanks, just empty lots. But then there's a county road that goes out of our neighborhood and then over to another road, and a very big portion of that county road is county and not city.
Okay.
So anyone that wanted to shoot fireworks could just drive over onto the county road and shoot fireworks, and that caused a lot of commotion with our within our little Facebook group on our community, because people were like, "Oh my God, you're shooting off fireworks past 10." I was like, "It's 9:45."
Yeah.
but I was like, I don't really care because I wasn't even there for it anyway. But
I mean, God, I mean, there was so much going on this weekend. So on Friday, on the 3rd, we had Trump at Mount Rushmore come out, give a speech in front of the president. And in it, this is the thing about Trump speeches.
Okay, so here's the fun thing about that one. I had to search on YouTube and Google for a good 20 minutes before I could find the actual speech.
The full speech.
The full speech. I didn't get just the full speech. I got like the whole live stream, which was like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
because
they had the band, speech. And then they had three other people talk, and yeah.
Yeah, so it took me a long time to find that, but I finally found it. NBC had live streamed it, so I was finally able to find that. But it took me a good amount of searches before I actually found the speech. All I could find was people talking about the speech and how divisive it was and how he didn't talk about Corona. And then I listened to the speech, and the first thing he did was say how they're fighting Corona and working to eradicate it. And I'm like, did these people watch this speech, or were they just given talking points? Because for the most part, that was a very uplifting speech. Now, it was a little divisive in the fact that he was like, I got this executive order that says anyone who defaces a monument is going to be sending themselves to prison for 10 years, and we've caught the one guy who defaced the one monument, the Andrew Jackson monument. But all in all, it was a very uplifting speech. How we're moving forward together, and we're going to ensure
and
that
and
our nation's
and
history is.
correcting some of the history, right? And telling that, okay, these people weren't perfect, but you know this is where we are. This is how we got there because of these people.
Yeah, we would have never gotten to where we are today if it wouldn't have been for them. So, I didn't think it was all that divisive, but then again, I'm conservative, so maybe to a progressive that was very divisive because, it was not in bowing down and kowtowing to BLM and stuff of that nature. So that was divisive.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because I'm trying to do hashtag SchuBros on Twitter, and it keeps changing it to hashtag Schumann Resonance.
Well, just do SBO or SBU.
There we go. I got you.
Yeah.
I just needed to hit.
Yeah, that's the one of the three famous Schumann things. The natural resonance of the Earth,
Yeah.
the 7 hertz that the Earth resonates at, is called the Schumann resonance. Don't know why, who, or what was the reason that was found, but it's named
Yeah.
after someone in our family, so that's cool.
So I listened to the Trump speech. I listened to the whole thing. We wanted to watch the fireworks because we knew Midland County, Midland City had already announced, look, we're not going to have our 4th of July fireworks. Normally, the 4th of July fireworks in Midland are done by the Midland Rockhounds, which is the minor league baseball group. They weren't doing it this year. We knew that. I told you about that on Saturday. We heard fireworks all night, but we couldn't see any because we live in the one part of town that has trees. So lots of Midland does not have trees, right? Lots of Midland is newer and they've planted trees, but they,
So you're doxing the shit out of yourself right now, is what you're saying.
I mean, I've posted a picture on Twitter of my kids in the front of my house. And so,
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you wanted to know where I live, plus that, I mean, if you go, if anybody doesn't know, if somebody's a homeowner and I go to that county's appraisal district and I type in your
Yeah.
last name,
You
it's
can find
I can find out how much you owe in taxes per year.
Yeah,
Right.
I had a girl show up to a first date with that information, and needless to say, I was a little bit freaked out, and
I
that
mean,
was a first date.
was there a
No, no
white
more.
dress hanging in the back seat of the car? I mean,
No, that that was a weird situation, man. That was
I mean,
before my first wife.
you've dated some very strange people.
I'm not gonna lie, I did, man, but
I mean, you
you
went through a streak
gotta
there.
go looking through the coal to find the diamonds,
You dug through some very deep coal. As our dad liked to say, it was your field to plow, and he thought you needed some more horsepower, which is the only funny joke our dad has ever made.
Nah, he's made a few others than that, but that's a pretty good.
I literally almost fell on my ass because that was so funny. That's his plow to pull, but he might want to get some more horsepower. So, with that being said, the Trump speech, I mean, divisive is going to be a matter of opinion, right? Because which side do you think we should tear down monuments? Then you probably thought it should be divisive. Here's a few facts about that speech. Trump never mentioned one Confederate statue whatsoever. He never mentioned one Confederate soldier, general, so forth, so on. He never mentioned anybody who did not fight for the Union or did not fight for our independence, who wasn't involved in writing the Declaration of Independence, who wasn't a founder of the individual liberties that we now have. So when they say, oh, this was an ode to white supremacy, it wasn't. Trump didn't talk about the Confederate flag.
No, he talked about several different African American black people. He talked about some Mexican
Harriet
people.
Tubman. He talked about Rosa Parks. He talked about Frederick Douglass. He talked about Martin Luther King. He talked about a lot. Muhammad Ali. Which I did. The one guy who tweeted that from the White House, they misspelled Muhammad Ali. They spelled it M-O instead of M-U.
Oops.
Yeah. It can be spelled both ways, but Muhammad Ali was not Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, definitely a U.
Yeah, he was not Muhammad Ali. He was Muhammad Ali. There's probably a difference but the speech seemed like a speech of, hey guys, we have room to move forward, but let's not tear down what made us great, what got us to where we are. And I didn't personally find it divisive, but I talked to other people. I talked to Dan about it, and it was, Dan, rightfully he thought it was divisive. That's going to be which side of this hill do you come down on? Do you come down on it on the side of we should be allowed to go take down all monuments of anybody who we feel is inappropriate historically, or do you come down on the side of people are not perfect, people have flaws, but they can still be great people even with flaws in their lives? Jefferson was flawed. Washington was flawed. All men are flawed. And I've said this before. If you're going to wield the sword of perfection, then you better damn well be ready to be cut down by the sword of perfection, because there's no way that you can live up to the same ideals that you're expecting everybody else to have lived up to.
And it's another thing to apply today's morality to the 1800s, the 1700s, the 1600s. Life has changed significantly since those times. And yes, today our morals and standards are a lot different than they were then. So to try to hold someone to our morals of today to then is just completely asinine. Like, it's just impossible. Like, there's no way that they would have been able to know how life was going to change as significantly as it did.
Well, and even when we look at Jefferson and Hamilton and all of these guys, there was already dissension in the room when it came to the institution of slavery. There were already people who were signing the Constitution who were planning for the end of slavery. And that's why they wrote certain things into the Declaration of Independence, or I'm not sorry, the Constitution, to the Bill of Rights, to ensure that it meant all men. All men are created equal, not all white men, not all free men. They could have, the thing about it is every word, every dot, every comma in the Constitution has been thoroughly debated and why it was put there. And these men knew it would be, so they took a lot of time and really thought through exactly what they were writing. That's why it says, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. It's not the right to bear arms for hunting or the right to bear arms for self-defense. It is the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. So there's a lot of speculation as to, we can go back and forth as to what the founders meant when they said things, but the document is pretty clear that all men are created equal and that our rights are not given to us by the government. They are given to us by God. Therefore, the government cannot take them away, cannot remove them from us. Only we can remove them, which unfortunately we're seeing a growing movement of people who are willing to sacrifice rights for perceived safety. And the old saying, is give me liberty, give me death. And those who choose safety over liberty deserve neither. However you want to pronounce it. I've got it pronouncing it neither. I don't know. I think maybe it makes me sound smarter than I really am.
It's going to take a lot, but eventually you'll get there.
Yeah.
You're working on that piled high and deeper. Eventually you're going to get there. You got the bullshit, the more shit. Now you're working on the piled high and deeper. So you'll get there.
You really want to do this?
You've got the bullshit. You then went and got the more shit.
We can stack it. We can stack them up against each other and see how.
You're not getting it.
I get it. I get the joke.
Bullshit,
I get the joke fully.
Okay.
I fully get the
you're
joke.
Acting like you're not.
But I can go show you the wall.
Yeah, the blank wall.
This one's blank. Hey, next episode, man. I'll put all three of them in order.
Okay, I want to see them. Let's do it.
We'll do the Masters.
No one believes you. So let's go ahead and get some credibility.
Here,
I don't care. I know you do. I don't give a shit. But I'm sure there are people out there who do. Everybody, if you're watching now, you're watching Ross getting his diplomas.
When you get a Master's, right?
Yes.
You don't care about your bachelor's anymore, so you just stick it in the closet any old where. Right? Like, it's not even hung on a wall. It's just, fuck it, it's a bachelor's degree. Who cares about a bachelor's degree? That's a high school diploma anymore. Right? May as well just stick that in the back of the closet,
So that's what you just went and got, was your bachelor's?
That was the bachelor's, yeah. I literally just grabbed. The master's is on the wall.
Okay.
The PMP is hung up in my office, actually, because that I have more people doubting the veracity of than the master's degree. I've had more people call bullshit on the PMP Then I've had call bullshit on the NBA. NBA, okay, NBA is great and it's a good degree, but lots of people have MBAs. It's not actually all that rare to find. It's much rarer to find a PMP. And I've had a lot of people walk into my office like, you have a PMP? Seriously? And it's like, it's right here, dude. It's right there on the wall. If you don't believe it, it's right there for you. Here's the test. Here's the test certificate saying I passed the test. So it's got my name. It's got my number. You can go to pmi.org, type that number in. It'll come up with my profile. So
So yeah, I didn't find it divisive, but then again, like you said, I'm more of a conservative, so therefore I didn't find anything wrong with it. But again, if I'd have been a progressive, I
there,
probably would have. So
the
yeah,
funny part of it is that there's people like, well, this should have been he should have made a speech for unity. And it's like, at this point in Trump's presidency, there's nothing he can say that's going to be a speech for unity, right? Because the left is literally waiting on bated breath to find something within this speech. And to be fair, we did the same thing to Obama. I'm not going to act like the right was any better during the last presidency, right? We're looking for things to criticize. We are openly seeking things to criticize about the other side because we don't, and especially in an election year right now, the left is not going to allow Trump to be the unifier because that's the last thing that they want to see happen is him become the unifier, him become the person who can actually, their whole thing is he's not presidential, he's not, whatever. But
so I didn't put this on the game plan, but since you brought up unifier divider, go ahead and mention it. Kanye unofficially announced that he's running for president in 2020, and Elon Musk almost immediately said, "You got my support." Do you think this is a realistic thing? Is it just him doing a media stunt to promote his new album, or
I don't think it's to promote an album.
Is this something he's doing to help Trump get reelected? Because a lot of people are saying that all he'll do is come in and take Joe Biden's, arrow away from his quiver, which is the African American community.
And we've already seen Biden make missteps in relation to Kanye.
Yep, and you've seen Biden make missteps in his wording of certain things, like saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So there's a large contingency of the black community who, especially the 18 to, let's say, 40 range, that are big Kanye fans and would more than likely figure out a way to vote for him over Biden or Trump. So therefore, that would take away Biden's strength, which is the black community, which would then help Trump in his re-election bid.
So there's a couple.
But Kanye has missed several states' filings deadlines.
All
I think
states.
No. There's 6 or 7 that he's for sure missed, but there's some that he can still be on as an independent.
So here's the thing, right? I'm not even certain that Kanye's actually running in 2020. Right? This may be, he did not specifically say, I'm running in 2020.
He did, but he did hashtag Vision 2020, which
led
people to believe
I get 2020. That, but he also said, he's also said before that he's looking at 2024.
Yeah.
He has said that in the past.
Well, in 2015, he said 2020, and then he came back out later and said 20.
And Trump in 2000 said 2004. Yeah, it's, listen, a presidential run's not something to be taken lightly.
No.
I think there's two sides to this because we do know that Kanye and Trump are at least amicable to each other. They're not hated, sworn enemies. That Kanye is at least one of the people, especially on the celebrity side, that's been willing to discuss with Trump. He's been willing to sit with Trump. He's been willing to talk with Trump. So,
and his wife Kim is the one who pushed and spearheaded the Prison Reform Act. So
yeah,
of all the things that you want to say about Kim Kardashian and of all the things that she's done, that's one of the things that she's used her position and her
gotten a lot of people out of jail.
Yeah, so she's helped there. I mean, I'm not necessarily her fan per se, but she at least used her platform and her status for good and not just for her own personal well-being. Not that she hasn't. I mean, that's the face fact. She's a bazillionaire from cosmetics because of her name and name only. never developed a single cosmetic, but because her name's on it, she's making tons of cash.
That's her little sister.
No, both of them.
So, anyway, well, the little sister is richer than she is. The little sister has
Yes.
more money than she does. Listen, I don't know what Kanye's angle is here. Kanye's not stupid. Whether you think he is or not, whether you like what he does or you don't like what he does, he's not stupid. He's definitely not an idiot. Does he do some things that are like sometimes a little weird? Yeah, but he also knows that that gets him on the news, and getting himself on the news gets him more money. He understands how the game is played. He understands what he's doing and why he's doing it. The more people talk about him, the more the news is talking about him, and then the more he can kind of be a recluse and make them want to come get him and want to pay him to do things. He makes more money. He's driving his price tag up. We do know that he's got some fairly weird politics where he's fairly right wing on some things and very left wing on others. And does he reach out to the black community? That's a weird conversation, because I'm not so certain that the black community, as we would talk about it, we're not talking about individuals here. We've had so many people on. We know that, listen, the black community is made up of a large swath of different opinions and different people, just like the white community, just like the Asian community, just like everybody else. But does he go after Central Chicago and those people? And does he show them that, because it's going to be interesting to see how Biden reacts, and Biden's already stepped in it once. Does he show them that Biden is as racist as the right-wingers have been saying he is, but that other people weren't willing to listen to because it was coming from the right? That's the interesting conversation. Do I think he has a chance at winning the presidency? At this point, no. Right? It's too late. Even if he had Elon Musk just throw all of his money into the race, I don't think.
Yeah, he can't be on the Texas ballot and several others, and those are the big states that you have to win to even have a chance at winning the Electoral College, which is a good segue into a Supreme Court ruling that came down today or yesterday. I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was today. So the Supreme Court ruled today that in a state where it traditionally was stated that whoever won the state's popular vote, the Electoral College representatives had to cast their votes that direction.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of people coming out that are in the Electoral College saying, well, I'm not going to vote that way. I'm going to vote my conscience, or I'm going to vote the way I want to vote. So enough people said it that it became an issue, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled today that said you are no longer able to even have a thought about it. If your state voted for X, then you're voting for X, or if your vote stated for Y, then you're voting for Y. I think the only exemption to this is Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Maine's weird. I don't understand Maine.
That's because Maine has a split electoral college, right? They actually vote their electoral college by their congressional district. So then the popular vote within that congressional district becomes that elector, right? So basically what this is that each state has so many electors, right? Which is the electoral college. And then based on who wins the popular vote determines who gets to select who the electors are. So the GOP in Texas will nominate X amount of electors for the amount of our electoral college seats. And then the Dem party, the DNC, will nominate their electors as well. Then, once those electors are elected by either, so in Texas, it's an all or nothing state, right? Where Maine is different. Texas is an all or nothing state. Whoever wins the popular vote in Texas, that party gets all of the electors.
And it's 34 votes, if my memory serves me correctly.
34, something like that.
It's a good chunk.
Yeah. So, I can look that up real quick. Texas electoral votes, right? Let's be honest with it. I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's not the most, but it's not the least. It's definitely one of the higher states.
It's something, right? Texas electoral votes.
I think New York and California have
Texas
more.
Texas has 38, so we're second. New York has 29, Florida has 29, Illinois, Pennsylvania, of course, California with 55. So what happens is then that the state elects, or the party then elects the electors, but the electors are not bound to give their electoral vote to the candidate who won the popular vote. So they could, in theory, have in the past said, okay, Gary Johnson ran in 2016. Let's say that one of the guys was just morally opposed to Trump. He did not want to vote for Trump. He could have cast his electoral vote for Gary Johnson. Now, that would have ended pretty badly for him, but he could have done it. Now the Supreme Court has said the states can punish with legal ramifications electors who are, it's called unfaithful electors, people who do not vote what the representatives that they've been elected to represent want them to vote.
So yeah, that's a big deal, because the Electoral College, had this ruling not been made, the Electoral College could then just become a overall popular vote, and they're like, well, like in 2016, Hillary won the popular vote, so I'm going to vote for Hillary because that's, who won the popular vote, instead of saying, well, I'm from Texas and Texas says I want that they want Trump, so I'm going to vote Trump because that's what my state says. So that could have led to a lot of issues with a state's electoral person deciding not to follow their own state's wishes, and instead voted with New York or California or wherever it may be, which is a good thing for the United States. That way we don't have the tyranny of the majority, because it could very easily become mob rule if it wasn't for that.
And we've seen states that now their new attempt to circumvent this is that they're signing this pledge that says that their state, regardless of how their state votes individually, that they will pledge their electors to whatever the popular vote would be, so that 2016 doesn't happen again. Now, they've set a couple conditions into this, that it doesn't actually kick in until so many states sign on to it, which they're not close to the correct number yet. They've got I think 10 states, and I think they need 25 or half the states, I think is what it is.
But didn't this ruling invalidate that and make it illegal?
So that's a good question, because electors, that process is decided by state law. So Maine has a different rule, right? They have a state law that says that it's going to be by congressional. Texas has a state law that says it's going to be winner take all. So that kind of becomes an interesting conversation, because then it becomes a states' rights issue. The state can decide how they want those votes to be dictated. Now, here's where this, of course, lies. The first time a Republican wins the popular vote, because California has signed on to this, and then gets all of California's electorate votes, we're going to see this completely come to shambles. Yeah. Because Californians are not going to deal very well when their 55 electoral votes, their biggest, every presidential election, as soon as they say, okay, the California polls have closed, you see Fox News alert, CNN has called California for the Democrats, because at 1% of the vote, they can make that decision. They don't even need to wait. They know where it's going. It's almost the same with Texas, right? Like they get to 5% of the vote in Texas. Oh, we've called Texas. Whereas in Florida, we got to wait for it to be 95% because it's always so close.
Yes.
So, I don't know how that's going to react, because it's going to be the state law side of it. But I do know that, say Trump should win the popular vote here, I think it's going to scare pretty much everybody who thought this was a good idea off. Because, of course, the whole argument for the last 3 years has been, well, Trump didn't win the popular vote. Trump didn't win the popular vote. Trump didn't win the popular vote. Fine. He didn't win the popular vote. It doesn't matter. But they're looking for a way to erase the 2016 election results. But the problem is you can't invalidate post-fact those results. The only thing they can do is change it for the future, but as soon as they realize that this could actually cost them in the future, then it's going to be something where I think they just say, you know what, it's not really worth the effort.
Yeah, right now they might actually be campaigning for more states to join in, but if they see the writing on the wall, they'll be like, wait a minute, this could hurt us.
Yeah.
They honestly think that moving forward, they're going to just continue growing their base, whereas you're starting to see more and more people get red-pilled.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we are the reason people are getting red pilled, but I'm not saying we're not red pilling somebody. We might red pill one or two people, but then they red pill one or two people, and they red pill one or two people, and then
It's not even so much like at this point, it's kind of like purple pilling, because all we have to do is be the party of common sense at this point, and we have a shot, right? And what's unfortunately has happened is that the left is moving left. And for everybody who wants to say Biden's not far left, he is advocating for the far left, whether he wants to or not, because he knows that he needs to outreach it. What he's doing is he's helping Trump because he keeps saying stuff like, we're going to put a ban to all fracking. That's not going to help him in Pennsylvania. That's not going to help him in Ohio. That's not going to help him in Michigan. That's not going to help him in North Dakota, right?
it's not going to help them in Texas.
There's states, well, I know that they think that they've got a decent shot here at Texas. I hate to tell them, the polling already shows you don't. And the polling that we're seeing that shows Trump ahead by a point or two, in reality, that means he's ahead by 4 or 5, right? There's always that. I'm a person who I don't discredit polls, but I do think there's more margin of error than they give themselves credit for.
Ever since that Chris Elam interview, I've become more and more of the opinion that polling is more voter suppression than anything, because like you've stated, like I've stated, we don't get called about the presidential race. I'll get called about individual local races, but I never get called about the presidential race. And the people that I know that do get called about that kind of thing are typically the ones that are at home during the day and have time to answer those phone calls. And those people typically aren't working, which means they are going to vote for whoever's going to give them the most money. So they're not calling the hardworking American. They're calling the person who's sitting at home, living off welfare. So of course they're going to vote for the party that's going to give them more money.
Vote for their paycheck, right? So the Supreme Court here says this, and it's an interesting decision. I don't know how much it'll impact this coming election, or if it'll impact it at all. I don't really think it will. Maybe you had a never-Trumper or two that was going to throw his electoral, but I mean, at the same time, that's kind of career suicide at this point. Because even if you're a never-Trumper in a red state, it's probably not going to help you to be out and up with that. Look at it, one way or the other. This election's the last time we're going to have to deal with Trump, right? Like, whether you love him, hate him, whatever, this is the last election, unless he loses and he decides to run in 2024. This is the last time you'll have to deal with him. So if you're a never-Trumper at this point, you would rather not commit career suicide. And because you probably, if you're an elector, that means you're probably politically motivated and you would probably be willing to run for, and you're going to piss off a lot of people just because you'll not even that you didn't vote for Trump so much that you defected from the party at large. And I just don't think it's
people
worth
who
it.
Trusted you, the people who put you in a position of somewhat power.
Yep. You
then slap them in the face and didn't go and do what they put you in place to do. So yeah, like you said, just it's not wise for someone to do that. There were a few in Colorado that prompted this case that wouldn't vote for Hillary, and I think there was one that abstained from voting in some other state. But for the most part, we've never had a real issue here.
It's never been a swing to an election that we had enough electors that said, I'm just not going to vote for who my party wants me to vote for or who my party's nominee is when we've won the popular vote in this state. So I don't think it's going to be a big impact on this election, but what I do think has a possibility to impact this election, and I'm sorry, me and my wife today, we actually had a little bit of a disagreement on this because Trump today tweets at Bubba Wallace saying, has he apologized for the hoax of the noose being found in his garage? Now, is Trump wrong? No. Is Trump incorrect in calling it a hoax? It's questionable. Where he's wrong, though, is that this isn't the battle that a president should be getting into. As we talked about on Saturday, when the left is doing something stupid, don't a reason to point the finger back at you and say, oh, he's the stupid one. And Trump here, I feel like he kind of stepped on a landmine.
Yeah, it wasn't the wisest thing in the world to do. I mean, because honestly, Bubba himself didn't ever actually see the pull down. So this was something that his team did to defend him because they're on heightened awareness because of the fact that he is driving the BLM car, because of the fact that he is the only current black driver on the circuit. So they're taking a lot of precautions to protect him because history is history is history, and the fact that the NASCAR just banned the Confederate flag at their events. They were on heightened awareness because of that. You know, people coming out, you know, being really pissed off that they're not able to fly their flag anymore, which, you know, you don't like, I don't care for, I don't give a shit about. You know, it is one of the six flags of Texas, but I don't care any way about it. And truly it's not, because it was the battle flag of the Virginia and not of the Confederacy itself. So it technically wasn't even one of the six flags. So with that said, I don't care, but I can understand why his team would be on alert because of that. You know, his team is concerned that somebody might try something stupid. It only takes one. You know, we've had how many presidents assassinated?
Yeah.
Or attempted assassinations. So it only takes that one zealot to try something stupid. So I can understand why they would be on alert like they were. And like I said, it wasn't even Bubba himself that did it. That brought up the charges or brought up the accusations. He just didn't really help himself in the fact that he was perpetuating it. So had he not said anything and just let NASCAR and the FBI investigate it, this would have all been gone by now.
So I think the part where Bubba stepped in it was going on CNN and, you know, giving us the tears and saying this is systemic racism in action and yada yada blah blah blah, and then letting CNN tear down the NASCAR fan base, calling them all racist, calling them all rednecks, calling them all white trailer trash, which of course fits right into CNN's wheelhouse because they think anybody who votes for Trump is a redneck, racist, white trailer trash. So the thing about it here is that Bubba Wallace probably should come out and say, hey, look, I'm sorry to my fans because I falsely accused somebody of poor motive. And you look, I love the NASCAR world. I love the NASCAR family, XYZ. And Trump is correct because we have seen a rise in fake hate crimes, right? Where we had Oakland with the nooses hanging from the trees that turned out to be swings. We have Jesse Smollett. We have other things. But the problem is that, you know, for every real hate crime, there's 3 fake ones. But that means there's still those real ones. And they do exist. And what it looks like when you're calling out as the president of the United States, when you're calling out the one black driver, it gives again, it's not that Trump's base is going to be upset about this, because they're not. Because they agree with him. It's that we're the independents, the moderate voters who are trying to decide between Trump and decide between Biden. And where we keep telling them Biden's racist, look at what he did. This gives the media another narrative to go with. To say, oh, it's not Biden who's racist. Look at Trump. He's going to go after the one black guy in NASCAR, and again, it's like with the Black National Anthem thing. It's like it's just a fucking song. Just let them have their song at this point. Like who gives a shit? Like, okay, we know the NFL's pandering, right? Somebody was commenting under our last video. I don't know if you saw that, and they were like, well, you're intellectually dishonest. Well, I tried to explain to him this morning, like, look, okay, it's not being intellectually dishonest because I believe free speech is free speech, right? We can't say we're for the First Amendment or Second Amendment until it's people we don't like or until it's speech that we don't agree with. I don't think Marxism is good, but I will argue to the death that you have the right to say it is. Now, I'm going to counter you. I'm going to argue against it, and we can now have a rational debate where we're both free to say what we feel to say. So do I feel like the NFL is pandering? Yes, but do I feel like they, as a private entity, they have the right to speech as they feel. And we talked about this on Saturday. I don't think it's, it's pandering. And I think a lot of black people see it as pandering. But at the same time, we've somehow tricked leftists into defending gospel music.
Yeah, that's the big thing that came out to me is like I went and found a version of it being sung by like a black choir, and I was like, I was doing this.
Yeah.
I'm a Lutheran and we don't do that. But even here, I'm going, hey man, that was
It's
a
an
good song.
uplifting song. It's got a
very
good
uplifting
message.
song. It's got a good little catchy beat to it too.
Well, and it's, you know what? It's up as Jeff said on Saturday. It's a conservative song. It's about individuality and freedoms and living your life the way you see fit and allowing yourself to be yourself and to be within yourself. So I'm not big into thinking that this is something we need to really worry about. But I don't, again, this is one of those times where it's like, somebody take fucking Trump's phone. Somebody take his phone.
If they would just get Trump off of Twitter for the rest of the campaign, have someone in charge of his Twitter, and he can have input on what is tweeted, but he isn't in charge of tweeting, he would probably win this election going away. That's Biden's playbook right now. It's just sit back, shut the fuck up, and don't say anything, and let Trump fuck up and say shit can be seen as divisive, and then take people that would be voting for him away from him. Yep. So I got to give it to Biden, or at least his campaign staff. They're smart in just letting him kind of disappear into the mist.
The old saying is when your enemy is making an unforced error, don't stop him.
Exactly.
Right? And there's times where these tweets from Trump are good. They're, when it comes to the real COVID numbers, right? Pointing out that it's not about cases, it's about deaths. When he points out that stuff, I'm golf clap all the way, because Texas has a spike in cases. We don't have a spike in deaths. No. So am I honestly concerned right now, living in Texas, living in a state, in a county that is affected? No. Now, we like you guys now have the mandatory mask rule. It's not in general public, but if you're going to go into a store anywhere. So they've done it a little differently this time. They're not limiting the amount of people inside of a store, which is nice, so we don't have the long lines. But they are requiring you to wear a mask inside the store. So, fine, 50-50, right? I'm not one of these people who sees wearing a mask as being an end-all, be-all.
I'm really kind of torn on which side of this argument I'm on, if I'm even going to jump into the argument. Because I can respect Damani Felder's position on it. And I can 100% agree with him. But at the same time, like, if it's required of me to do so, I'm not going to put up a fight about it. I just don't see it as enough of an issue to cause a stir. Like,
so I don't.
But my defense to that is I just don't go do anything that's going to require me to wear one.
So it's a little different for me because my company honestly requires it as part of our PPE. It is now required PPE for us. They're
probably actually giving you like a legit PPE mask and not just.
No, they gave us the little cloth ones that go around your ears.
Okay, well, never mind.
But I mean, they gave them to us. Yeah, we got 4 each, and they're washable or whatever. You throw them in the washing machine, whatever. And they did give them to us. And I ordered little hand sanitizer bottles for all my guys with D-ring clips, and we got a big 5-gallon bucket of hand sanitizer that we refill for them every time that they run out. We're trying to do what we can, but for me, it's just like, okay, well, it's not the biggest deal for me to wear a mask. I can understand it when I'm in public that it's and I love when people on Twitter, because I'm a guy that says, okay, if you don't want to wear it, you don't have to wear it. If Damani, if Damani doesn't want to wear it, and he says, look, I'm not going to shop at places. He posted on Twitter the other day. I walked into Ross. He said they said you had to wear a mask, so I walked out and I said, sir, I never said one word to you about a mask. and we got a chuckle out of that.
I like the ones that are like, sir, you've got to wear a mask, and it's like, it's illegal for me to be doing so. They're like, wait, what? He's like, it's illegal under whatever clause it is to wear a mask while concealing a handgun. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I choose not to make an issue out of it, so I just choose to remove myself from the situations where it might be.
But back to the point at large, I mean, it's with
Unless I
Trump.
have to go get something, in which case, even then, like with HEB, you just got the
Curbside.
Curbside stuff. So we make them bring their stuff to us instead of going in.
We do that with Sam's. We do that with HEB. We do that with Walmart. It's coming back. There it goes. There, are we back? Are we back? Let's look at Twitter. Oh, we didn't. We didn't freeze.
You. I can see you.
Yeah, we didn't freeze on YouTube, so the stream didn't freeze. Maybe I froze.
That would be we froze. That's now happening.
Okay, I don't know why that happened. That was weird.
It's not the first time I've noticed your internet hicking up, so I think something's happening out there.
Suddenlink's getting us, bro. They're censoring us, bro. My Skype is coming through just fine. Okay, hold on. Let me fix my video because it's
now your video's gone.
Yeah.
Yo, ain't gone.
Yeah,
Speaking of people that are gone,
go ahead.
We lost a legend today, man. We lost Charlie Daniels of the Charlie Daniels Band. Just one of the, from all accounts, nicest, best people to ever walk this earth. And what was really weird / strange is that last night he tweeted out, "I feel like going to bed." And apparently he did this every night, but
so that was stupid of me, first of all. I'll say that now.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
So I was trying to reset my video and hung up on you, which, of course, then reset yours. So not my smoothest move. I will say that. But go ahead with your point.
So I was just saying that Charlie Daniels tweeted out that he was, retiring for the evening, and tweeted that he was out going to go to bed, and he'd catch us on the flip side. And his last ever tweet, man. So he's no longer with us. He's a legend. He was a legend. One of the better musicians to ever walk this earth, and from all accounts, one of the nicest people to ever, be out there, and made some of the most iconic music that you'll ever hear. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and many, many other songs out there that just, if you hear it, you'll immediately go, "Oh, I know that song." So, not a Ballad of Southern Man. That's a whole different songwriter. But
all right, I'm back.
Okay,
took me a hot minute, but we're there. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. I don't know why, but the stream went a little funny there for a second. But okay, so Charlie Daniels, of course, as Kyle said, is an icon in country music, right? Like, you can't talk country music and leave out Charlie Daniels when you talk about the history of where we get. When we talk about Hank Williams Jr., we talk about Charlie Daniels, we talk about so many people, Ray Wiley Hubbard. There's so many people there that are, even Willie Nelson in his early days. When we talk about those guys, it's a different level. And Charlie Daniels had a lot of hits, but of course the big one everybody knows him for is The Devil Went Down to Georgia. And of course, it's an iconic song. It's a great song. It'll be played over and over for hundreds of years. That song's going to be played because it's just a good song. It's just a song that you can get into the rhythm of and you can enjoy regardless of who you are, right?
Yeah, and that fiddle is iconic. Like, exactly.
So I want to see Ben Shapiro tomorrow on his show, because Ben Shapiro is a classical violinist, right?
Is he now?
Yeah, he actually was a concert violinist. He actually went to, Stanford for his undergrad, or UCLA. He went to UCLA on his undergrad before going to Harvard for his master's or for his law degree. He got into UCLA on a violin scholarship because he was a classic violinist. And so so I would love to see. So Ben Shapiro tomorrow, get the fiddle out, right? Leave the violin out, leave the violin at the house, and get the fiddle
out.
So for those of you who don't know the difference.
which to the layman, there is no difference. It's just the way you play it.
It's the way you play it, right? Classic violin is played slow and methodically. A fiddle is played to burn the house down, right? So there's really no difference between the two instruments, although sometimes a fiddle can be electrified or steel.
Yeah. And if you're gonna play in Texas,
You gotta
better have a fiddle in the band.
If you're gonna play in Texas,
Even though
you gotta have a fiddle in the band. Even
that
though
whole
this song
song-
is by an Alabama
I don't believe it has a fiddle.
man. Yeah, it does. Yeah, they have a fiddle solo.
okay,
in that
like,
song.
for the rest of the song, there's like no fiddle, so it's like
Yeah, played by a bunch of Alabama people. But yeah, the song definitely has a fiddle in it. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's really sad to hear. It's a big loss. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of people here really recently, but Charlie Daniels hit specifically hard.
yeah.
Just because,
as a lot of people posted today, 2020, you can go straight to hell.
yeah, 2020 is a year, and that was the thing is that like they had John Rich on today talking about it with Fox, and he was saying, look, I was over at his house a couple days ago, and he seemed perfectly fine. Like he was joking, goofing, drinking some whiskey, having a good time. Like you didn't think nothing of it, and then he just poop today he's gone, and it's sad, and it's something where we're never gonna have it again like we had it with him. And today's country is a different beast. It's not the way these good old boys were raised to play music, right? But he's gone, and we'll have to remember for what he was. Him, George Jones, Ray Wiley Hubbard, all those guys are truly going to be the country, the onus of country music. What country music is, could be, and should be is lived by those people. And I remember when George Jones passed, because he was going to play a concert in College Station, and I had tickets, and he passed about 2 weeks before that, and I was like, God dang it, because I knew it's George Jones, man. Like when they said
he was old. You knew it was a chance it might be the last time.
When they announced he was going to be in concert, I was like, wait, George Jones is still alive? No, that's like a George Jones cover band, right? Like, it was like, no, George Jones is coming to College Station. I was like, well, shit, I got to get tickets to that, because yeah, exactly. And then it was like 2 weeks before he passes away, and I remember the tributes to him, of course, because one of his most favorite songs is He Stopped Loving Her Today. And if you tuned in for our singing prowess, you are on the wrong show.
Hey, mine's okay. At least I can harmonize with people.
I
You are flat as a fuck.
I don't give a shit. This is my voice, and you better like it. Anyway, so
Stop loving
yeah, Charlie Daniels passing away. I think John Rich said it very well on Fox today that heaven is a rockin' tonight.
Yeah.
So, well, okay. So moving from that, this is gonna be this is a shit segue. From very sad news to very big sports news. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes has signed.
Well, from one goat to another.
From one goat. Well, we don't know that he's a goat yet, but he's
man,
got
the
goat
way he's
aspirations.
getting paid, he better as hell be one. This deal.
12 years is the total length. So it's a 10-year extension, but they're adding that on the back end. So he has 2 years left on his current deal. So he'll make like $2.5 million this year, $24 million next year, and then
$45 million a year.
The bank for that kid, $45 million a season. Which, by the way, I'm kind of upset that they did this now because Dak hasn't gotten a full deal yet, and this is like.
And yeah, Dak's gonna want something of that nature, and Dak ain't earned shit.
Well, okay, I don't think Dak's worth 45, but if you would have told me 33, 35, I'd have said, okay, that's fine.
I wouldn't have.
But now it's going to be, well, the question becomes alternatives. The question becomes, the question becomes, do you see the potential? I see potential with Dak. Right? Dak has the potential to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. I thought Tony had the potential to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
I'm gonna have to see how Dak reacts to a new coaching staff, because the way Dak played under the old coaching staff, he did not warrant 25 a year. I'm not saying he was a bad quarterback. I just don't think he earned 25 a year, and he's wanting 40. So there's a
I'm
big
just.
disparity there. But he's got a chance to come
I
in
mean,
with a new coaching
he was a
staff.
top 5 quarterback statistically last year.
I don't care. He didn't. How many playoff games did he win?
He's
That's what
won
matters.
equally as many as Tony Romo,
But
and
that's
he's
what
4 years
matters.
into his career.
That's how it matters. Is how many playoff games has he won?
So, would you have said Tony Romo was a $30 million quarterback?
No, I didn't think Tony Romo was. I didn't think Tony Romo. But to be honest with you, I think Jason Garrett ruined Tony Romo. So I didn't think he was good enough for that kind of money either. But Romo at least has a good career on the flip side. He's doing great where he is now.
So this is what I look with Dak, right? Dak came in as a 4th rounder and has played well above expectations for a 4th round quarterback in the NFL, and I perfectly agree with that. Do I say that he's necessarily a $35 million quarterback? That's debatable, right? Like 28, 30 would probably be in the number. But at the same time, you pay what the market bears. He has played on a rookie deal that paid him very little money. He didn't hold out. He didn't, walk away from the team at any point in time. He's been as good of a quarterback statistically in the league as you can ask for. He's not injury prone. He's played well within the team structure. He fights for, when he runs the ball, he'll fight for yards. He's the kind of guy you want leading your team. Is he the most gifted quarterback to ever play the position? Like, is Patrick Mahomes, or if I had an option, Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott, I'm gonna have to go with Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is a more gifted quarterback, but he's not available, right? And so what I have to ask myself is, of the guys that are available and what you're paying would pay them versus what I can pay Dak versus the alternatives of not having Dak, which, I mean, what's the alternative right now, right? Like, I mean, who's currently on the Cowboys roster that you would rather have as the starting quarterback, which is nobody.
Well, I'm looking at next year's draft and seeing that kid come out of Clemson going, I'd probably rather have him than Dak.
They would have to have a terrible year. So you would literally have to be saying, trade Dak, start Andy Dalton, and then still with their offensive weapons have to get lucky to lose some games to have a chance at Trevor Lawrence. Right?
Yeah.
If
you ask me if I want Trevor Lawrence or if I want Dak Prescott, I'd be hard pressed to tell you I don't want Trevor Lawrence.
I would.
Unless I could get Dak for 25.
We've seen more enough college stars come into the NFL and not pan out.
And bust. Yes, you're right.
I mean it's simple. The game is different. Now, do I think Trevor Lawrence is that quarterback? I don't personally think he is. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be. I think Joe Burrow has a high bust potential. Right?
I don't think so.
I think he does because
I think with what he had to overcome and the transition from one school to the other, I think that kind of gave him a little bit of bust proofness.
I think he had a lot of talent around him that so I look at him sort of like, no, okay, he's definitely a better polished quarterback than Johnny Manziel was. Yeah. But
going to the Bengals or the Browns it's almost a death sentence.
Johnny Manziel was a product of the players around him. Right? Johnny Manziel looks great because he runs around and he does all this crap. But at the end, he just throws the ball up in the air, and his 6'5" former, power forward basketball wide receiver, who, by the way, is an all-pro wide receiver in the NFL year in, year out, goes up and gets the ball. Right? And then his bookend tackles, which, okay, Luke Jokel didn't pan out in the NFL like we thought he would. But
that was mostly injuries.
Well, yeah, but he was still a very good college tackle, and he still was very good in college. And then on the other side, you had a first-round draft pick offensive tackle.
Jake Matthews. Yep.
And then you had a Weggy at guard, right? So you had 3 first-rounders on that offensive line.
Actually, I think it was 4. The year after that, you had I'm trying to remember who it was, but he got drafted by Seattle at the very tail end of the first round.
So Boyke went to the Bengals at the very end of the first round.
But then the year after that,
now he's playing for Seattle.
Yeah, the year after that, you had Jermaine Ifedi.
Okay, yeah. So look,
Get drafted at the very tail end of the
do I
first.
think Joe Burrow is a talented quarterback? I do. I think he's a more talented quarterback than Johnny Manziel was. He definitely was a more passing oriented quarterback than Johnny Manziel was.
But
And
going to the Bengals is,
well,
man, that's hard.
you got a very good tight end, and you got a very good wide receiver in AJ Green. So you have some weapons with the Bengals on offense. Now, their defense is atrocious. So he's going to have to light it up and not make mistakes as a rookie. But the Bengals are not completely inept, right? They can and have built playoff teams before around quarterbacks. So they built around Andy Dalton, which Joe Burrow versus Andy Dalton, I think Joe Burrow is the better quarterback. But I'm saying the potential to bust is there for Joe Burrow, and with Trevor Lawrence, I say it's there as well. For Dak Prescott,
How bad do we want to get canceled tonight?
I mean, shit, I don't care.
Okay, so speaking of busts,
Oh god.
Colin Kaepernick got a deal with Disney/ESPN to make a documentary about his life. Do you see that?
So I know Netflix is making a documentary about Kaepernick, and that they inked a first look deal with Disney that would say that any script he comes up with, Disney has the right to refuse it, basically right of first refusal. So it doesn't mean that they're going to make the movie. It means that he can't take the script to somebody else before Disney gets a chance to look at it. Yeah, this is one of those where I say this is kind of stupid. Listen, I'm not on the Kaepernick train, okay? I'm not. I'm just not. Kaepernick was not that good of a quarterback in the NFL. He had a chance. He opted out of his deal. Everybody says, oh, he was kicked out of the NFL. No, he wasn't. He opted out of his deal. He had 3 other contract offers that he refused. Well, one got rescinded because his girlfriend said that the owner that offered him a deal was like the slave owner in Django Unchained. So, yeah, the owner then rescinded that deal. I was listening to Doug Gottlieb, of all people, talk about that. And Kyle, you probably don't know who Doug Gottlieb is. He's a huh?
He's
a fairly left-wing guy.
He's a talking head.
Yeah, he's a fairly left-wing guy. And even him, he was going through it today with Kaepernick. Like, I don't get it. And even he said Kaepernick doesn't want to play football anymore, right? Kaepernick has had opportunities to play football. He doesn't want to. The reason he doesn't want to is he makes more money being a victim than he would playing football, right? And
he doesn't have any of the injury concerns.
The Broncos offered him a contract. The Ravens offered him a contract. And one other team at some point in time offered him a contract that I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say the Dolphins, but I might be wrong. Either which way, he turned down the Broncos contract because it wasn't enough money. He turned down the other contract because it wasn't enough money, because he wanted starter salary. That was the whole thing of why he opted out of San Francisco, is he thought he could get a better deal elsewhere. It wasn't because he didn't have an opportunity to play in San Francisco. It was because he thought he could get more money elsewhere. Colin Kaepernick was a system quarterback. He worked well within Harbaugh's system because Harbaugh has a college-oriented system where Kaepernick could use his legs, do some other things. They had a very good team around Kaepernick. They had a very good defense. Kaepernick, statistically, was not a great quarterback. And so when everybody says, oh, the NFL is just keeping him from playing, they don't want him. He tattooed his own self and put his own self in a bind. Are there owners that don't want Kaepernick?
If he wanted to be on a team, he'd be on a team somewhere. Maybe second string, third string, but he'd still be making. He'd be getting some money.
But then the thing is that would take away that weapon from him, right? That cudgel. Yeah. He wouldn't be able to say, "Oh, it's just the poor NFL's trying to keep me down," because now he's got the opportunity. Now it is about his talent. And I think if he actually saw him, I watched his tryout. I didn't see anything, and I'm not a top line evaluator, but I didn't see anything there where I was like, man, I'm drooling over this kid. Like, I gotta have him on my team. He wasn't good when he was playing, right? Like, and everybody's argument is he took a team to the Super Bowl. Okay.
There's been many a defensive team that have made the Super Bowl with a game manager quarterback.
Rex Grossman. So if you're going to tell me that going to a Super Bowl means that you're an elite quarterback, I present to you Rex Grossman, a white guy who took the Chicago Bears to the Super Bowl as his quarterback. All damn near won the damn thing, against Peyton Manning. But was not a great quarterback. Wasn't the answer. He was just good enough to not make mistakes.
Game
Right?
manager. That's
Yeah.
all he. That's
Which
all
is
he
why
was
they
supposed-
went after
supposed
Jay
to be.
Cutler almost as soon as that was done. And we all see what happened to the Baltimore Ravens when they said, well, we had a quarterback win us a Super Bowl, so we're going to give him bukus of money. Right?
Yeah.
And then it didn't work out very well because actually, although the guy had a cannon and could throw the ball 70 yards, and they had that one wide receiver, I can't remember his name, who could fly, and he could just lay it out, and that guy could go get it. He
Was
wasn't.
it Juju Smith?
Jimmy Smith, maybe?
Juju?
No, Juju Smith-Schuster's with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, he's still playing. And actually, that's funny because that quarterback that they paid is the quarterback that beat Kaepernick in Kaepernick's Super Bowl. So Flacco is a white guy who got the money and then got cut and went to Denver and couldn't even be the starter in Denver, right? When they were looking for a quarterback, he couldn't even be the starter there. Kaepernick wasn't even as good as he was. So we had two teams that year in the Super Bowl at the Superdome. That was the one where the power went out halfway through the game, remember? It was kind of interesting because it was like, wow, Democrat-run city, guys. Can't even keep the power on during the Super Bowl. But Kaepernick is just not, I'm sorry, he's not an NFL-level quarterback, and he knows it. And he would rather be a status symbol by being a victim and putting his Kunta Kinte shirt on and taking pictures with Sean King and, fist up in the air, than playing football. He's not, I made this argument to many people. He doesn't want to play football. He wants to be a victim. He makes more money. It's more profitable. And power to him that he's made money off of it. Right? Fine. You've made money, but you want to tell us that this country is horrible and that black people can't get an opportunity. You're literally making millions of dollars.
Making a lot more than me and you probably ever made.
By just saying, well, it's not fair. Like, you've made a ton of money by being a crybaby. You're a professional fucking crybaby. That's what Colin Kaepernick is. And Jamil Hill, come at me. Because, again, I can show you 3 times that he had contract offers. 3 times that he's had contract offers since he opted out of his deal with the NFL. He was not cut by the San Francisco 49ers. He opted out of his deal where he would have made $15 million. He opted out of it. He decided that he could get more money.
And for anyone to go, well, $15 million's nothing for a Super Bowl quarterback. $15 million is
a lot of money.
Life-changing money.
If I put that in a regular bank account, earning regular savings account
and
interest, I could live off the interest.
Never touch the principal once.
Ever.
Be able to buy nice houses.
Yep.
Be able to afford nice cars.
Yep.
And never once touch the principal.
Exactly. 3% interest on that per year.
Just coast for the rest of your life. You'd be fine. Yep. If you had any kind of sense about how to invest or knew someone who could invest for you and invest moderately aggressively or moderate, just a moderate level in the stock market, just living off dividends, you'd make enough money to never have to work another day.
Just putting it in a FDIC, you could even, spreading it out amongst FDIC insured savings accounts, because I think the limit's $400,000 per account that they'll insure. So spread it out between multiple banks, earning normal savings rates. You'd be looking at anywhere between $150,000 to $450,000 a year in interest off of $15 million. That's what he turned down for 1 year. And then who knows? He'd have come back and played that year. Maybe he'd have gotten his stats up. Maybe people would have been, it would have let the news around him die down. But he thought he was worth more money. Then he went to the Broncos, and the Broncos said, we'll give you X amount of dollars. I don't know what the deal was. And he said, no, I want starter money. And he wanted to be guaranteed that he would be the starter. And they said, well,
Yeah.
we're not going to guarantee you that. Like, we'll guarantee that you're going to come in and get a shot, and that you're going to get a chance to play, and we'll put you in an honest competition.
I'm trying to remember. Was that around the time that Peyton was coming back?
I don't know if that's when, like, I think
Or was that when Peyton was leaving the second time?
it was probably when Peyton was leaving, and the Broncos were looking for a quarterback, and I think they probably brought in like Case Keenum or somebody instead of, or I think that was the whole Trevor Siemian years.
Yeah, I mean,
That guy made some money for being a 7th-round pick.
Yeah. So I mean, he had the opportunity, had a chance, and he decided not to do it, and now has a deal with Nike, has a deal with ESPN, Disney, has all these different deals, and he doesn't have to risk his body getting hurt anymore.
No.
So I mean, I can't blame the dude for
Again,
what he's
good on
doing,
him.
but at the same time, don't come over here and be the world's biggest victim that ever existed. Because, dude, you lived a pretty blessed life. Like, if they do a legit documentary on you, you're going to get exposed. Because from all I can tell, all the research I've done, you lived a pretty blessed life.
Yeah, he grew up in a nice house, went to a good school.
White parents.
He never was overly oppressed. This is a cash cow for him. And this is a cash cow for Sean King, and this is a cash cow for Jamel Hill. This is why they keep coming back to this. This is why, people don't really believe in what they're trying to sell, but there's enough people that keep garnering enough support for them that these companies are willing to put them on a poster board and say that they're great and say that that they belong, or that we should appreciate them. And I don't personally buy it. And again, I gave you the reasons why I don't buy Kaepernick, because I don't think he's a true victim. I don't think he's really somebody that we could stand there for and everything else. And speaking of true victims of violence, did you see what happened in Atlanta yesterday?
I did not. What happened?
All right. So the Wendy's that was burned down in the last altercation where the guy was shot and his girlfriend burned down the Wendy's, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
So yesterday, there were people in and around there who had set up an autonomous zone like what we saw in Seattle. And an 8-year-old little girl walked through there and they shot her. Black girl.
What the hell? Why?
So we saw her parents with the mayor of Atlanta holding their shoulder, and like her, hate her, whatever, right? This is not the moment to criticize for that reason. Saying, y'all say Black Lives Matter, but yet here was this 8-year-old little girl who did nothing to you, and now she's gone, and she was, what about her black life? And again, we've talked about on this show where if you want to make an impact, you have to start at the bottom. And what I mean by that is you start with the kids. And you can't start with kids if they're dead. So we saw in Chicago this past weekend, there was a lot of violence. And we saw in Atlanta, there was violence. And I'm sure if we looked at other Democrat cities, we would see these same levels of violence. And the first thing to put forward a positive economic atmosphere is that there has to be safety, right? There has to be a level of law and order, to use the president's words here, to facilitate businesses wanting to come in here. Do you think whoever owned that Wendy's is going to build another Wendy's there? They're not.
Maybe with insurance that it kind of might have to, but I doubt it. I wouldn't.
I mean, the point is like if I'm building it, I'm selling it right after I build it, right? It's like, okay, I'm legally obligated to rebuild this building, but I'm going to sell this immediately because I don't want to go through this again. But the other part of that is if we want kids to get an opportunity to learn and grow and be better, we can't put them in an atmosphere where they don't know if they're going to survive, where they're more worried about, am I going to survive the walk home than doing my homework. So we have to start facilitating safer neighborhoods where people can be better. I'm all for socioeconomic changes to these locations, but they have to come with basic protections for the people making those investments. Because if people's investments are not protected, right? I'm not going to go put my money somewhere, and for them to lose it, right? If I know that stockbroker is shit and he's just going to lose my money, I'm not going to invest my money with him, right? I always invest the minimum first and give them a minute to show me what they're going to do with the minimum amount of money. And then if they do well enough with the minimum amount of money, okay, now we can talk about some more money. I'm not going to go give you my entire nest egg and hope that you're half-ass decent with it and that you're not Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. So we've got a new member joining the fray when it comes to this whole Black Lives Matter situation, and it's Mr. Terry Crews. Did you see his tweet
So
on July 4th?
you did send it to me, and
Yep.
I like the shit out of Terry Crews. Terry Crews, I think, is a good dude. I've listened to him talk. I've listened to him tell his story.
He personifies the American dream.
Yeah.
Work your ass off. Even didn't make it complete. Like, he made it to the NFL, but like never really got big in the NFL, but still.
And then went to working security
and
for Ice Cube on Friday.
Yeah, has taken advantage of situations and made something of himself. So he tweeted out on July 4th, "Are all white people bad? No. Are all black people good? No. Knowing this reality, I stand on my decision to unite with good people, no matter the race, creed, or ideology. Given the number of threats against this decision, I also decide to die on this hill." So, and then today someone tweeted that, saying all Black Lives Matters is some racial epithet shit. He goes, "Spoken like a true supremacist. So only the black lives that matter are the ones that agree with you. You are proving my point, sir." So he's definitely on this train of, it doesn't matter, yes, Black Lives Matter, but so do all lives. So it's nice to see someone who's got such a platform speaking out to this bullshit. And while we are of the opinion that, yes, Black lives do matter, the Black Lives Matter organization is not what you think it is, and it is a Marxist platform to try to subvert the American culture. So we do not support that organization, but we do support the movement, and more people like Terry Crews standing up and speaking out against the Black Lives Matter organization is going to lead to some actual change, some actual dialogue being made, so that we can actually see what's happening with the Black Lives Matter organization and where their money's going. And, hint, hint, it ain't black communities.
Mm-hmm.
So people like Terry standing up and being someone saying, I support all people regardless of color, that gives me hope that we are actually going to see some legitimate change happen, and maybe we'll become more united as a people. I hope so, at least, because God knows the alternative is not going to be good for us.
So I got to click on it because for some reason Texas Tech is trending. Oh, because of the Mahomes deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just assumed that. I didn't know for sure, but I assumed.
Yeah. So here, I'll read you. This is a good tweet. So, somebody said, black people, do you think black people are pro-crime? And he said, Terry Crews says, where I grew up, a lot of people were too afraid to turn in the criminals in their own hood. They knew there would be swift retaliation. Black people are not pro-crime. They are being held hostage. We can't move from one oppressor to the other, regardless of color. So Terry Crews is, I think here he's being very smart. So Terry Crews and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and a couple other big stars have used their platform to stand up and say, you know what, there is room for dialogue in the country. There is room for conversations like you and I have had on this channel. Shameless plug, Jeff Charles, Olivia Rondeau. Go look at those interviews. Go listen to them.
The Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers. They're there, right?
Town Music.
I would say at the time we had just Trey on, but, we didn't actually record that one. So, screw, bad on us.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, the computer failed like 5 times halfway through, and it kept cutting out. Remember, we were
Wait,
trying to
we,
just
we
get.
we streamed it.
No, I deleted it
Oh, way to go.
because when you came into Google on your computer, remember we were SchuBros muted.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
that there was a lot of video.
No audio. Yep, you're right. I forgot about that.
Nothing, right? So I just went in and was like, you know what? It's probably not anything that anybody needs to hear, so we'll just delete that.
Well, there's nothing to here, so.
So Terry, yeah, so nothing anybody needed to see. Terry Crews seems like the adult in the room here, right? And I think he's, DMs are not open. I would send him a DM, but DMs are not open.
Who'd have thunk that?
I followed him though.
Same.
So okay. So with that being said, guys, we're getting to that point of the show where we typically say turn down for what.
Turn down for what?
Okay. Anyway, I've been smart enough here to keep track of our topics and the time link so that when I go to cut the video into small pieces, I have the timestamps. I can just go in and cut that part out. So I have an open source video software. As you can see, it's not. So for anybody who's listened to us who doesn't like watching the hour and a half shows, what I've been doing
Hour
is
45.
whatever it is. I've been going in and cutting segments out and reposting them to YouTube as just these 10, 15-minute clips. So it's easier to digest for some people. Now, some things are out of context because you're not getting the entirety of the conversation because we're not Fox News. We don't move segment to segment to segment. We move from one thing to the next and we're
conversationalists.
Yeah, we conversate into it.
We have a conversation. Wherever the fuck that leads, that's where we go.
If you want to hear one topic specifically, or what I try to do is do some of the stuff that's closer to the end of the conversation, because we've noticed that people watch the first part of our video and then not so much the end. So what we do is we cut out the end parts and put those back in so that you can see them more easily. So if you're that kind of person, send us a tweet. We're happy to make sure that you keep getting that content in a way that's easy for you to view. It also means that we put out content more often. It's not more content; it's the same content, slightly different. But with that being said,
it's easier to digestible content.
It's something because I watched the one we posted this morning and I was able to completely watch it in the time that I left my house to the time I got to my office. So
I watched it as well, but I watched it while standing at my desk because this is where I'm at for the foreseeable future. Hi.
Yeah. So
this is my office now.
Yeah.
My boss talked to me about it the other day. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not seeing a necessity for you to come into the office anymore. You've demonstrated you're very good at doing what you do wherever you're at." And I'm like, "Cool."
So I wonder if his next point is going to be, I don't see the necessity of giving you a paycheck anymore.
No,
you've shown that I don't need to pay you.
No, I definitely need to be paid. I'm getting enough work done. I'm being productive. I'm going out and finding more work for myself to fill my time. So he's definitely
it's good
with my efforts.
So we have a couple announcements. So we have 2 shows lined up over the next couple weeks. Okay, so this Thursday, for
Ross
anybody
actually went big fishing this time. And not just a whale, like a blue whale.
Okay, so we'll get to that one because that one's not. We know it's going to happen. We just don't have it scheduled yet. Okay, but the one that we have scheduled for this Thursday is State Rep James White, who is out of East Texas. He's a Republican.
Close is that to San Antonio?
Not very.
Okay.
It's closer to San Antonio than it is to Midland.
I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it.
I promise you.
I don't really know. I know where Midland is, but I don't really know. I've never been there, so I can't say.
So, okay, San Antonio to you is what, 3.5 hours?
Yeah, let's say 3.5.
Okay, you're 8 from Midland.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's on the other side of you. So yeah, I know that when I drove over to where basically he is for work, it was 9.5, 10-hour drive, and that was taking I-20 almost all the way to Dallas and then cutting down. So it wasn't like I was taking back roads and going slow. It was like, okay, take the fastest route. So he's going to be on this Thursday. We're very excited about that because that's state politics. Of course, those are things that affect us, that affect our lives. We're here in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about school choice with somebody who actually has an opportunity to do something about it. Kyle knows I'm going to bring up my solar bill that I wrote, and I'm going to try to talk to him about that. We're going to try to talk to some other things that are, and he seems pretty open to talk about whatever we want to talk about. Next week, we have. Let me make sure I get the gentleman's name correct. I don't want to screw this up because I don't want to upset anybody. Montgomery Granger.
Up in 3, 2,
right.
1.
Montgomery Granger,
Okay.
who has a documentary on YouTube about Guantanamo Bay and things of that nature.
I might not be able to participate in that conversation.
Okay, he's no longer serving. Saving Grace at Guantanamo Bay is the name of his book. He has a short film at YouTube, and of course those links will be posted. 90,000 Twitter followers, so he's definitely a person who has some clout. He'll be on next Thursday, which we're very excited for because this is a veteran, a guy who served. He's probably got some stories to tell when it comes to some of the stuff. Served at Guantanamo Bay right after the start of the Iraq War, was part of the guy handling some of the worst terrorists coming in and out of there. And then, as Kyle said, the whale, the big blue whale. So Kyle is upset about this.
No, I'm not. I'm happy as a clam. I'm just, it's
funny
I'm
for
happy
me to
as a
think
clam,
you're upset.
But I'm a little butthurt they never responded to me. But I'm happy that he responded.
One of us is more important than the other. One of us is more important than the other.
Yeah, sure. You spend more time on Twitter is what happened.
Yeah, well, that's true. So I'm sitting on Twitter the other day, and we were during the interview
Jeff Charles.
with Mr. Social Liberal, not with Jeff. It was the one before that.
Oh, you're right.
Of course I am.
Mr. Strong One.
Yeah, of course I'm right. I mean,
Did you
have to think about that statement before you said it? I mean, Ross, right? Ross, yeah. Right? Ross, right?
Just go.
Ross. So I'm sitting here during the conversation, and all of a sudden I get a message on Twitter saying somebody has followed you. And usually, you get new followers. I get new followers pretty random. I'm up to 660 now, so it's growing. But this one was kind of, you get a message when it's kind of somebody who's somebody, and it was the Persistence, Mr. Scott Pressler. And that was one of these where I literally, during the interview, I was like, and so.
Very disrespectful to our guest, but.
I apologized. For those of you who don't know who Scott Pressler is, so you've probably seen him out and about on Fox News because what he does is he goes into inner cities. He went to L.A., he went to Baltimore, he's gone to beaches in Florida, he's gone to Atlanta, he's gone to Austin. And he organizes these cleanup events where they go throughout the cities and they are people on the right wearing MAGA hats and they're cleaning up neighborhoods in Democrat-run cities. So this started after Trump went after Baltimore, was when I first came to know him. So Trump went after Baltimore, and of course there was a congressman there who was a civil rights leader, but the district that they're in was pretty crap. And Trump was calling him out, like, okay, you say that your district, that you're for the people, but yet you've been in Congress for 30 years and your district sucks, right? So obviously you're not really for your people. And so Scott Pressler said, you know what I'll do is I'll go into this neighborhood and show them that Republicans care, that we actually care about these inner city neighborhoods, that we want them to be better, that we're not just talking the talk, we're not just berating your congressman, that we're actually going into these neighborhoods, we're actually going to make a difference, and that we're not the racist that the media paints us out to be. And what's done great about that is it's a great uplifting message. He's done it in L.A. He's done it all over. Seattle, Baltimore, New York City, Atlanta. He's gone all over. So he follows me. Anytime a blue check mark follows me on Twitter, what do I do? Hey, man, thanks for following me. You want to come on the show? Because that's what you do, right? You have a small show. You're chasing it, right? And I'll immediately message me back, hey, sure, here's my cell phone number. Give me a call. We'll work it out. Now, I haven't called him yet because he said call him after the 4th, and I don't, wanted to let him settle in. But we will be getting that taken care of. We will be having Scott Pressler on the show at some point in time. We don't have a confirmed date yet. But you know how you would know when we have a confirmed date for it, Kyle? Do you know how you could find that out?
I mean, maybe him-hall.com or
him-hall.com or
or YouTube itself will give you a little notification if you're subscribed.
if you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell, all of a sudden you'll get a message saying, oh, the SchuBros are doing whatever. So make sure you've hit the notification bell. Make sure you've hit the subscribe button if you watch this content. If you've watched to this point, like, to be serious, right? Hour and 35 minutes at this point. If you've watched to this point, you may as fucking well. Right? I mean, what have you got to lose? Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up on the video. Let us know that you like the content. We've got some great content on the way. State Representative James White will be on the show this Thursday with us at 7:30 p.m. Central. That's going to be a great conversation. Next week, we got Montgomery Granger coming on. Scott Pressler in the future at some point in time, which for us is a huge get. We're super excited about that. He's
the other thing Scott does is he goes and does a lot of voter registration. And he actually got Olivia. I don't know if he got her to.
I'm looking at the video right now. I'm looking at that picture right now.
She registered to vote and has a picture with him
in front of a McDonald's.
In front of McDonald's, registering to vote. And I know I saw this somewhere, but I cannot find it now. But I'm 95% certain that he actually survived the shooting at the nightclub in Florida, where they went in and shot up the LGBT.
The Pulse nightclub.
Yeah, the Pulse nightclub. He survived that, and that's kind of where he rose to somewhat of fame because he was, part of that situation.
So I honestly don't know that. So I will look into that.
I swear I saw that somewhere, but I cannot find it now. But I could have swore that's how he rose to some notoriety.
All right, so Kyle swears by it. He's probably wrong, as is kind of Kyle's MO on these kind of things. He likes to be wrong. I don't know what it is about him. He just enjoys it personally.
I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong this time.
I mean, he's just somebody that enjoys being wrong a lot. It's weird. You would have a hard time explaining to me, but Kyle likes to be wrong.
I'm looking. I'm gonna find a tweet from him that says it's one way or the other.
I was just looking. I mean, honestly, I figured he'd have a.
Yeah, you would think it'd be more
Wikipedia?
pronounced on his website and stuff, but I know
was
he is
just figuring it would be on
LGBTQ community.
I figured it would be. I mean, I know he's 6'5".
Yeah,
and he's got really long hair. So yeah, here talking about Baltimore, and this is super interesting content. Watching us read, I'm sure.
I tell you what, man.
So with that being said, guys, we'll figure this out. But lots to look forward to in the future. Great interviews on the way. Of course, you'll have the SchuBros coming to you every Monday night with our opinions on whatever the hell we decide to talk about that night. Again, once you get a master's degree, just take the bachelor's degree, put it in the closet. There's no need to keep it on the wall because it's toilet paper at that point, man. It really isn't all that important. Kyle, why don't you show yours to the crowd?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just keep talking.
So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Do hit the like and subscribe button. Do hit the notification bell so that when we do schedule that interview with Scott Pressler, you'll be the first to know. And then you'll be able to tweet it out to your friends and be like, hey, look at what the damn SchuBros have managed to do. These idiots. And then, hey, Kyle, him-hall.com. him-haw.com. That's HEM-HAW.com.
And then if you go to our store, you can find these lovely little decals that you can purchase for $5.50 unless you contact me or Ross and send us $5 via Venmo or Cash App or PayPal. And then we'll send it to you for $5 instead of $5.50. But if you buy it through the website, we get charged fees. So unfortunately, we got to pass those shits off to you.
So with that being said, guys, we appreciate every one of you coming on with us tonight, watching us, listening to us, thinking about us, whatever it is, whichever way it's going, right? And you know what? Thank you for coming on. The videos have been getting a lot of views lately. We appreciate it so much to every one of you who's consistently watching those videos, who's liking us on Facebook, who's following us on Twitter, whatever you're doing. In case you need to know where we are, links are in the description. You can also see our Twitter handles are right here below us in the video. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you hit us up. We are happy to have debates with you. We are happy to talk with you. If you want to leave us comments on YouTube, we'll answer them. We'll respond to you. If you leave me a comment on YouTube, I'll do my best to respond to you and try to explain my position. If you don't agree with me, perfectly fine, perfectly happy to have a debate with you and have a conversation with you about it. With all this being said, guys, God bless you all and have a good night.
Thanks and gig 'em, and God bless.
All right, everybody. See you Thursday.
I just keep calling on the help of my peers, but their success makes me distressed. Things will be better when I disappear, bouncing from city to state. Nothing feels great, I'm a committed disgrace. If I could get up, hold my chin up, confidence is just a bluff for the weak. Might take a peek in my self-pity to realize it's selfishness for the meek. Just take these pills and makes it better, but withdrawals will make you seize up and tweak. You gotta buy it every month, we change the brand, it's more expensive this week. I'll hold my chin up, keep this grin up like my mother, she can worry like me. But if I have you, life is worth it, love is more than a contagious disease. I think of you, I think of me, a family, is this another pipe dream? But if these dreams mean anything, I'm gonna think whatever I want to think. I just can't convince myself to look. Why can't I be strong in the place where you read your books? I just can't rely on happenstance. Didn't say goodbye before you died, I should've took that chance. But you'll never leave me, no, my heart is bleeding, and I know this feeling's not fleeting. Your hugs were the best thing, just wrapped up in your strength. I'd give up to be there right now. I just want you back, we all want that. I just wish that you hadn't forgotten. I hate this disease.